The views expressed in this blog are hosted on my own website, are strictly personal, and do not reflect the views of any organization.
Hello and welcome friends once again to Straight Bat, my weekly video blog where, as the title suggests, I comment with a straight bat. Today on the Straight Bat, a simple question that I wish to ask, but one that perhaps doesn't have quite so simple an answer. Why is it that the communal temperature in the country seems to rise before a big election year? This past week has seen a horrific hate crime in a train where 3 passengers, all Muslims, were killed by a railway protection force guard who also shot his senior. This week has also seen gruesome violence in Nuh and Gurugram in Haryana, where at least 6 people have died, 4 of them Hindus, 1 a Sikh home guard, the other an Imam of an under construction mosque. We'll come to Haryana in a bit, but the fact is that this isn't the first case of mass violence in the last few months in the country. Through May and June, Manipur has witnessed terrible ethnic violence that has completely divided Kukis and Maithis. Over 140 people dead, thousands rendered homeless, the 2 communities now completely geographically separated. In April this year, Bihar Sasaram and Bihar Sharif district saw communal violence in which several vehicles, houses and shops were torched during the Ram Navami festivities. In April again, Ram Navami also turned bloody in Bengal. In Howrah, vehicles again being burnt, shops ransacked, stone pelted, several injured. In Maharashtra, we've seen communal violence being sparked off through much of March, April, May. In Kolhapur, Aurangabad, Jalgaon, Akola, Trimbakeshwar near Nashik, Ram Navami processions, WhatsApp messages, social media posts. The state has been on a slow communal burn, it appears. In Madhya Pradesh, we've seen communal tension in Khandwa that led to curfew being imposed in the town in the month of March. In July, there was a communal clash in Karnataka's Raichur over remarks on Prophet Muhammad. In July again, a social media post triggered a communal clash in Gujarat's Patan district. There are several common factors in many of these cases. Let's try and explore them today on the Straight Bat. First, Hindu religious festivals are leading to a rise in tension, particularly those that involve public processions. Ram Navami processions or a Jal Abhishek Yatra accompanied by provocative slogans, loud music as they move through Muslim dominated areas. Second, radical Muslim groups organizing themselves in localities where they have a sizable presence, then be it a Nuh in Haryana or a Howrah in Bengal, pelting stones, resorting to arson, and in Nuh in particular, clearly well-armed groups as well who've targeted even a police station. Remember, many Muslims have suffered in silence the last few years as they've been constantly taunted. Some clearly now have decided to worryingly hit back. Number 3, Hindu groups like the Bajrang Dal in particular are acting with total impunity, claiming to represent all Hindus, weaponizing themselves and flaunting their weapons in public. They claim that they are keeping these weapons in self-defense, but in reality are using them as a threat and an intimidatory tactic. Please tell me, which religious procession should allow swords and guns to be paraded? Is that really true religion? And who protects them, I ask? Number 4, the abysmal state of the police in this country, which at times is becoming brazenly partisan and complicit, as is evidence in Manipur, or is so feeble and overwhelmed as in Haryana, or is politically compromised as it is in Bengal. In Nuh, for example, there is enough evidence now on tape to suggest that the Haryana government had been warned of possible trouble during the VHP-led Yatra through Nuh and yet chose not to deploy more forces. Fifth, the questionable role of political leaderships at the centre and in the states. Biren Singh in Manipur is seen to have openly sided with the Meitei community. In Haryana, Manohar Lal Khattar has trained his gun squarely on Muslim mobs and not the Bajrang Dal activists like Monu Manesar and Bittu Bajrangi, who clearly have much to answer for in the manner in which they act on the ground. Sixthly, the misuse of social media posts, be it a post on Aurangzeb in Maharashtra or a Kerala story in Gujarat or a Bajrang Dal message in Haryana. It doesn't take much, my friends, at the moment for a spark to be lit even by a single social media message. Seventhly, and dare I say I must look inwards here, the role of a TRP-hungry mainstream media. There are enough news channels, dare I say, who profit from hate, who will almost on a daily basis look for an issue to bash minority groups, even creating even greater polarization. Love jihad, land jihad, corona jihad. We can go on and on with blazing headlines and inflammatory questions. Eighth, and arguably the most frightening, the normalization of this cycle of hate politics. So a chief minister of Assam can get away by actually claiming that Mia vendors are responsible for the rise in vegetable prices. In Maharashtra, rallies can be held by Hindutva groups openly calling for the economic boycott of Muslim communities, and no one will speak up. In Manipur, cookies can be branded narco-terrorists. Residents in Nuh, each and every one of them, can be branded as Pakistanis, where once civil society, my friends, would have questioned these toxic narratives. Today, the harsh reality is many people out there readily accept this branding of an entire community. Which brings me back, my friends, to the original question I asked. Does the communal temperature in this country rise ahead of a big election year, either at the center or in the states? Recall 1984 and the horrific anti-Sikh pogrom in Delhi in the aftermath of Indira Gandhi's assassination. Months later, the Congress swept to a huge victory, riding the sympathy wave. Many of the advertising at that time was truly divisive. Recall also the Hindu-Muslim riots of Bhagalpur in Bihar just ahead of the general elections in 1989, in which more than 1,000 people died. Recall the riots that followed the Babri Masjid demolition in 1992 across the country and the scars that they left in several parts of India. Recall the Gujarat riots of 2002 and how they became a dominant theme in the lead up to the state elections of Gujarat, arguably one of the most divisive elections that one has ever seen. Recall the Muzaffarnagar riots of 2013 and how they sharply polarized Western UP ahead of the 2014 general elections. Recall also the rioting in 2018 during Ram Navami processions, again in crucial battleground states like Bihar and Bengal. Don't also forget that Haryana also goes to the polls. Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabha elections will take place next year. As also next year, Maharashtra, the prize state, will go to the polls. Is there a connection then between that and what we are seeing on the ground? But there has been, interestingly, a narrative pushed that since the Modi government came to power in 2014, this cycle of religious violence has ended and there is communal peace in the country. Well, here's the reality. In March last year, the Minister of State for Home, Nityanand Rai, in response to a question in Parliament, said that India witnessed 3,309 cases of communal or religious rioting between 2016 and 2020. To give you the exact figures, 857 cases registered in 2020, 438 in 2019, 512 in 2018, 723 in 2017, 869 in 2016. Truth of the matter, my friends, is that we are a dangerously polarized society where the genie of hatred is now well and truly out of the bottle, where political parties and leaders have realized that they can reap political advantage over the blood of divisive politics. And yet I am loath to blame just our netas, because frankly tomorrow they could just turn around, as some of them already are, and blame the media for fanning the flames. But let me say this, and I have probably said this before on Straight Bat, because it is something that my late grandfather, an IPS officer and a former DG of police, told me once. No riot takes place without the incompetence or complicity or both of whoever is in power. Let me repeat it. No riot takes place without the incompetence or complicity of both or whoever is in power. The buck, therefore, must stop with those in power, be it at the center or the states. As a postscript, let me also say this. While we focus on the communal violence in Haryana and the graphic images of the violence that's shaken us, let me remind you that there are always stories of hope too. Like that of Karan Singh and his son Vivek, property dealers. The duo were caught in the violence in Nuh when they were participating in the yatra. They were targeted and chased by the mob. Just as they had given up hope, they were rescued by a family who hid them in their house. Here's the reality. The mob was Muslim, so was the family that protected them. I know you might think that this is just an isolated case, but the truth is, not every Indian is blinded by hate. In fact, I am convinced that a majority of Indians, right-thinking Indians, will not endorse hate or violence. If only their voices could be a little louder and heard more often. Think about it. That was the Straight Bat. Do of course subscribe to my YouTube channel for many more such videos. For now, stay well, stay safe. Jai Hind. Namaskar.